today at Barrel and Bond in downtown Paducah. We're here with Brian Shemwell, and he is the owner. We are going to talk today a little bit about his business since we're in our entrepreneurship unit at school. And then also we've got a real treat because he's going to demonstrate how to put together a professional charcuterie board. And my students are going to follow up and actually do their own charcuterie creations as well. So Brian, I am going to let you talk just a minute about yourself and your background and what gave you the inspiration to start a business like this.
Okay, so I'll try to keep it short, give you the Cliff Note version. So my name is Brian Shemwell. I'm originally from Western Kentucky, born and raised here. So my background is, my degree is actually in economics, and so I'm kind of a far cry away from that, opening a new bar and restaurant. But primarily the last 15, 16 years I've been in healthcare in some type of fashion, and currently I'm a executive director of the state of Kentucky for population health, data and analytics. But my passion is working in the kitchen and providing a service to people who find enjoyment in such things. So it's been a challenging last, I'd say 12 months or so,
Yes.
with the pandemic, and
Absolutely.
we've endured some hard times, but I think we're going to persevere. And I think it all comes down. I could probably dive into a little bit of that later as far as what we talked about, the margins and whatnot, and how you make things work. But I've always been a lover of Kentucky culture. I know growing up in rural Western Kentucky, we probably often think we want to get out of here, and go as far away as we possibly can, and I've done that and returned to my roots. There's a lot to celebrate in this great state. There really is, when it comes to Southern cuisine or our state's finest export, which happens to be Kentucky bourbon whiskey. There's a lot to be proud of, and so my wife and I talked this through quite a bit. We've got 2 young children. How we're going to manage the work-life balance, and this was just a wonderful opportunity to invest in the community, stake our roots, so to speak. And in November of 2019, we officially opened. We had a really good first 4 months, and then March of 2020, everybody knows what happened there.
Exactly.
But I think it all kind of ties back to the relationships that we've built. My wife is from here, but it comes back to the relationships that we've built here in the community through my nonprofit. Got a couple of those. The Paducah Bourbon Society was one of them, and I've been running that for about 6 years, and just really kind of uncovered a demand for such things, charcuterie, meats, cheeses, and pairings with spirits and other things, and it just kind of led into the natural progression of getting to this point. If I had my druthers, I'd try to get rid of my day job and do this full time. And maybe hopefully one day I can get there. But we've had a really good run, and it's been interesting to offer charcuterie boards to folks in this town. It's even more interesting sometimes to really teach them how to pronounce it. I think we've all been there at some point. I think it's fair, so I try not to make them feel. I try to make them feel comfortable. It's like it's okay, because at one point I was looking at a menu and I was like shoot. It's kind of a tongue
Charcuterie.
Yeah, there's a number of different ways that you can say it, but just make people feel comfortable, and that's kind of the whole idea of this entire business plan. Is just we're here to celebrate Kentucky culture. Everything is built around Kentucky culture, from the whiskey to the food to the deviled eggs, everything Southern. The ambiance in here is meant to be like a library and a warehouse and a barn, so to speak. A lot of natural finishes. So, I think the community has really turned on to these, and I think because no one's ever offered it here.
No, this is the only place I know of in town that you can come and get a charcuterie board, and I am super impressed. I know you'll tell us a little bit more about how you're also, you talked about Kentucky flavor, but also local flavor in this charcuterie setup that we're going to be doing today. Yep. And so I'm pretty excited about that. You answered my next question about what was the inspiration behind this type of restaurant, and I love that you talked about Kentucky and the local flavor. So, talk to us a little bit about what is the basics that go on to a charcuterie board.
Okay, so we'll talk first about, I think, my guiding principle. which I think is kind of important. It's offering a variety of things. I don't know if it's 2 or 3-fold. We can probably just talk through it. Really, it's about offering a variety of cheeses and meats primarily, right? And then you can add garnishes, sauces, anything that you want, fruit, nuts, breads, whatever. But I think it's all built around, you know, meats and cheeses. So what we try to do, and you can kind of see that we've already pre-cut a lot of this because this is time consuming. You know, I've timed myself, I've put together a really nice board in as little as 5 minutes, and it's taken me as long as 12 minutes. And when you're in a rush on a Friday or Saturday night, every minute counts. So we try to get ahead of ourselves and predict how much we're going to sell, and then we try to prep them. But the basis for it are your cured meats and then cheeses, right? You want to offer a variety of different textures, soft cheeses, a little bit harder cheeses, maybe some smoked cheeses, maybe some sharp cheddar, which is what we have here. And then from the meat standpoint, we've got an uncured Genoa salami, and then we've got a cured Genoa salami, so people will notice the difference. And then we typically offer, you know, some type of aged prosciutto, right? A big part of this, and if you really start getting into charcuterie and reading about it, you'll notice that a big part of it comes, you know, not only in the flavors and types of meats and cheeses that you're offering, but also the texture, right? And what we have our meat slicer back there set on different settings. So you have some thin, then you have some thick, right? And you have to cut them that way so people can have a different type of an experience. If everything's cut the same slice or same size, you know, it's just kind of like going through a package of lunch meat and Kraft singles, more or less, right? So it kind of adds to the experience. Now, whether the consumer knows it or not, or recognizes it, they probably don't. They probably can't pinpoint the fact that, hey, this is cut just a little bit thicker than the other. They just feel it when their teeth, you know, bite into it. Second most important factor. Actually, I would put this almost, you got 1A as far as what you're offering in the texture, then you have 1B, which is the visual, right? So I think for me, the visual aspect of it, you know, plays a big part in people making up their mind whether or not they're going to enjoy it. So if you throw a plate in front of somebody that you didn't put much thought or care or attention to, they're going to recognize it. And their mind's going to be made up at the very beginning whether or not they're going to enjoy it, whether it's one of your best dishes or not. So there's a little bit of attention to detail in creating something beautiful. And the best thing about this is I don't think there's too many wrong answers, except for being too technical with it. And I'm not someone who's overly technical, right? I don't like diving down in details too much if I don't have to. I like to fly over. I like to look at this like a blank canvas. When I was in high school myself, I used to dabble a little bit in art, so chalk was my favorite medium. Why? Because I didn't have to be perfect. I could start with something that I could smudge and recreate and layer and layer and layer. So I take that principle and apply it to this. That's kind of one of my pet peeves with my staff when they feel like over anxious, like they can't create something beautiful. It's because they're trying to put everything symmetrical, right? And that may be your thing. You may appreciate symmetry, but for me, a nice visual, like a Picasso painting or something like that, you know, where there's a lot of different colors and shapes, you combined can create something beautiful. And that's the way that I try to build it.
So we're looking at something that is more organic, free form, rather than symmetrical and perfect. So that is good because I am definitely, I tend to lean towards symmetrical and perfect, but that would definitely free me up to be more creative if I know that that's not what this is supposed to be.
Yeah, and I think I always subscribe to the thought that, you know, guides are just that, directions are just that, they're guides. They're to get you set on the right path, and you need to be, or get yourself to a place of comfort to where you feel like you're confident to go off the path a little bit and just kind of experiment. You said it best, I think. And I think, you know, honestly, these things are always a constant work in progress. You know, sometimes I create something I consider beautiful. Sometimes I have dropped one off at a table and I've apologized to them and I gave them free cookies and they didn't know any different, but I did, right? I just took, what I had was, you know, blocks of cheddar that we pre-sliced into rectangles. And so I just made a, you know, nice little 2 triangles out of it. And from there, you can create flower petal type, you know, type of arrangement if you want. rather simple to do. All got a point. Just go from there. We should have brought your art teacher over here, Mr. Kimball. He made these.
Oh, Mr. Kimball. He is, yep, he's an amazing potter.
He's one of my favorite humans.
Mine too. The Stamper Kimball family.
Yep, good folks. So, you know, I mentioned time. I'm taking my time a little bit now, but this was a busy night, and I would be moving a lot faster. But I figured just for the visual, it's nicer to kind of see what I'm doing. And see, look, that's not perfect. It's not a perfect triangle, right?
Right.
Kind of looks like Nevada.
A little bit, yeah.
Right. And that's great. It's beautiful. It'll give the board depth and not be so boring. Be like Bob Ross in here and talk about happy little cheeses.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to.
We're gonna have happy little mistakes too.
Yeah, there could be a lot of those.
Yeah.
Same thing with these. You know, cut them this way because I like to build them around everything circular. And there's a reason for that. You know, this Lazy Susan charcuterie board, look, top of a whiskey barrel. You know, everything kind of has an intention here. So we kind of build off those geometric shapes and then kind of go from there. And this is just a simple provolone cheese. It's kind of a filler that we use when we're in between experimenting them. It's a nice cheese. It's rather simple. But you go from a sharp cheddar and a smoked Gouda to a simple provolone, back to a salty cured meat, and then whatever it is that you are drinking. Gotta be careful not to overwhelm the palate. If you're like me, I've got a rather sensitive palate. You know, this is what we call our large board. We actually call it board to death. B-O-A-R-D. And the price point on these, you know, each market's going to be different, and margins on meats and cheeses can be tricky, and you really have to kind of pay attention because it's very easy to surpass what your cost of goods are. You know, just even one extra little package of meat could throw off your margins, right? And when you're prepping these, you have to be very diligent as far as how much you're preparing. So we typically, and that's probably another good question to answer, you know, how much do you prepare for each serving, right? So it's typically, or traditionally, about 1.5 ounces of meat, 1.5 ounces of cheese per individual.
Okay.
So that's what each one of these individual packages are. And I weigh them when I have my staff come in and you know, prep on a weekly basis. You know, I make sure to go behind them, you know, just to weigh them, just to make sure, because yeah, 1.5 ounces, if they accidentally put 1.75, you know, once, it's not a big deal. But, you know, you divide 1.5 by 0.25 ounces, you know, and you can figure out that for every 5 or 6 servings, you're giving one away if it continues at that, right?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Over the course of 52 weeks, you know, 12 months, you know, that adds up to a lot of money. So you have to be careful with that.
That's good to know, because our students don't know yet, but they will when we see this video, that we're going to be making our own charcuterie boards, but we're also going to be selling some mini individual charcuteries boxes to our staff. We
Cool.
usually have staff meals every year, at least maybe 1 or 2 a month, or we try to anyway, about once a month. And this year we haven't been able to because of COVID, being in and out of school. So this is going to be something that is new and exciting this year for our staff. And I sent out a survey and we got really good feedback. We have over 40 of our staff members that want to purchase a box. So we're pretty excited about it, or I am anyway. My students will be too, I know.
They're a lot of fun. I mean, it really is kind of, you know, cooking, you look at Sarah over at the Freight House, you know, she's amazing. She is every bit of an artist as anybody else is, right? In her craft. She's also a really good friend, so I always speak highly of her. But, you know, watching her, you know, she was never afraid to take risks, and she does it on her menu. And I think that's got to be a calling card for people. I mean, it makes you uncomfortable. I get it. And I tell people in my day job, I'm okay with people being comfortable. Push yourself to the boundary. And if that's trying something new, throwing it out there, you're not gonna knock them all out of the park, right? You're gonna make some mistakes, you're gonna fail, but just keep going at it. And she's actually helped me a lot with certain things. But I think from kind of circling back to talk about the cost of these things, these can get expensive really quick. They really can. Cured meats, it's especially when you start sourcing locally. I mean, you can get just about everything you need to open a restaurant off a truck, right? And there's definitely a place for that. And I'm not here to knock that at all. But when it comes to like cured meats and trying to remain local and support the local economy, we try to get everything as much as we can locally, right? But it does tend to add up. Now we sell, it's roughly, it comes down to about $10 a person. Whether we get an individual charcuterie board for one person, which is about this size, not very big, right? Then we've got a charcuterie for two over here. It's $20 a person, for two. And then we got the big one, which is $40, and it serves 4 people. Come to that, just understanding the local market, what people are willing to pay. I could probably, if I was in Central Kentucky, Lexington or Louisville, this would probably be a $60, $70 board. But you can push that, but you may not sell a whole lot of them. So if I roll everything back and look at it from a financial standpoint, I know that I try to operate between a 25 and 35% cost of goods. So for the sake of easy math, 25% of $10 is $2.50, right? So everything I have in one serving has to be $2.50 or below for me to hit my margin, or $3.50 or below. And that's how you play the game. And that's, like I was just saying, over the course of 12 months, if you're like, okay, my margin's $3.50, but I'm willing to go to $4, that's going to add up if you sell 3,000 of these over the course of 12 months. So everything's measured out. Whether it's fruit, whether it's meat, whether it's nuts, olives, there's a limit to what we have per individual. So, and I tend to prep this. I'll show you what I'll do. This is the fun part. People were saying, what are you going to do with those that roll all over the place? Well, let's just start right there. Create a big pile.
Very nice.
So you build around it.
And that already looks beautiful.
Doesn't it? You got blueberries, you got nice blues, you got nice dry cranberries, you got some salt and pepper pistachios, and you just got some raw almonds. What I've been doing recently, I was like, oh, I like to make a little ripper here. Now we're going to the Bob Ross part, right? Yeah. So we just kind of mold it. If some falls off, that's okay, because I'm usually working off a table. It's not that big a deal, and everything's nice and sanitary.
Oh, I love it.
What do you think about that?
I love it.
Sometimes I'll just throw that there. Does it fit? At this point, it all comes to visual. Where am I going to put this? Does it make sense? So here, and this is the beautiful thing about having a lazy Susan.
That is really nice.
Right? Because I can just throw, I don't like that there, so I kind of want to put that out. This on the edge, and I'll scoot that in just a little bit more. And next, you got the meat. Throw it here. And this sometimes I do get a little bit, as far as symmetry is concerned, it looks really pretty to me, visually, that everything's just kind of a nice extension of the bowl. Right? So, it's a little off, but for the sake of, I'm happy to move forward. Just kind of throw one over here and see how it works. And just kind of do the same thing. And I found it, one thing I have noticed is it's been easier for me to build up as opposed to out, right? In certain areas, because if you start building out completely or from the outside in, you start restricting your space. So if you just kind of start piling up, you leave yourself a lot of other space. I don't want everything to be flat. I don't want everything to be perfect. And eventually it'll look, in my opinion, very nice. Okay, this is where it starts getting fun. And I'm willing to take suggestions if you think this would look good here too.
I'm gonna defer to the expert.
Oh, no expert. I'm an expert in nothing, unfortunately. So, and this is where it can kind of get tricky. You see, when you, everything back towards a point, it's basic geometry. Create something just simple like that.
It looks so pretty already.
Here's a nice little bowl of grapes right in the middle of it. And see, nothing, you know, everything, if you've noticed, everything has already moved at least once.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, you know, the cured salami. Creative way to do it, just fold it, and look what you have.
Absolutely.
Right? So you could either lay this flat to offer some texture, or you can someone probably more talented than me, maybe Mitch or Shand, could probably make a flower out of that from above. But I like to kind of just wedge it in here and then give it support to stand up.
I like that,
right?
The dimension there.
That's a visual, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's this way, yeah, I mean, it looks okay, but it's just like, wow, when you do it this way, it's a whole new level.
Yes. Stunning how the colors are natural but working together and playing off of each other, and but also these little bright pops of the sharp cheddar cheese and the blueberries and the purple grapes, and you've got the pink color of the salami, and it's just just beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Another beautiful thing about this, if something's not fitting right,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is what I call fillers. We also do pickles. Put pickle on top of it, doesn't matter. You know, you could do that. I could either serve them in this crafty little dish, also made by Mr. Mitch Kimball, or you like how I'm plugging him. You'll have to show him that video.
I'm sure he'll watch it.
Some pitted olives. Okay, so what do you think? What do you think I should do with these? I'll turn it over to you. These are
Oh goodness.
the great state of Nevada right here.
Yes. Well, we need also room for our crackers and things like that too.
We're going to do that. Probably the crackers.
Probably the crackers right there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, could we put some like right?
Yeah.
Put some right there.
Let's see what happens. Which side do we like best? Which fits?
I think separating it from the other cheese would be. I like that right there.
Okay. Let's just build it up.
Yeah.
Get it underneath there. There we go. There we go. Get a couple more here.
Mm-hmm.
Perfectly acceptable to do this. Shove it under there. Right?
Yes. How boring if it would all just be flat on,
on the
the board.
It's just one of those things. It's kind of fun, you know, working through my daughter's eyes. Like she comes down here sometimes on Saturdays to help me. She's 8, she's about to be 9. Very intuitive, but she asks me some really good questions. And so does my 5-year-old as well. And it's kind of inspiration sometimes, honestly, because like, let's put that here because it looks like this, you know, and it's a lot of fun that way. Ways that I would otherwise never have noticed. Okay, now we've got our yummy prosciutto. We'll put them here at first and then see what happens.
Okay.
Now let's start cutting some fruit. Again, it's about texture. You like to have soft fruits, some berries, and you like to have some crunchy. I always get what I call the apple butt ends off because we need color. Cut them thin. Fun thing to do about this, it's like an accordion. Something as simple as that.
Oh, I love it.
Right? Let's just do it right here, coming out. And you can take up a lot of real estate, create a barrier. And this is one of my favorite pieces of fruit right here. I just think it's beautiful.
The blood orange?
Blood orange. And they add so much. Just another dimension of these boards. Really glad I didn't cut myself because, like I said, I'm not trained in anything. I just decided to open a place and share with the community all the things that I love.
It's great to be able to share your passion.
Yeah. This was definitely a blood orange.
Absolutely.
Right.
Look at that. So pretty.
Yep.
And again, another color.
Yep. So you could probably have the most least expensive ingredients that you can possibly find, as long as you can create something out of it visually. You know, I think that's probably fair to say that's almost half the battle. Now, you know, I'm sure chefs and people who are actually trained and would probably disagree, but I don't do anything overly complicated here. You know, for that reason. Leave the complicated stuff up to the experts. Strawberries, which I cannot wait until May to throw these on the board, because we were closed last May, and going out to one of the farms around here, taking buckets and buckets and buckets of strawberries and putting them on this board. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And much better tasting
Yes.
than buying from the grocery store.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately is probably what we'll have to do at school, but like you said, you use what's available to
Yep.
you, and
You can still make it work.
you can try to keep it simple. And
Yep. Now we've got a nice, I mean, I was just thinking about May, the nice bright red that we're going to have, and then inside the
yes,
nice
instead of the
splash
white
of white,
inside
yeah.
of the strawberry, you've got the nice bright red.
So cut up, you know, a few strawberries, and these are nice little fillers again. That's what I like to call them.
But you know, for store-bought, those don't look bad.
They're not terrible. Let's see, to me, I feel like I need more over here, so I think I'm gonna go back.
Well, and also creates that barrier there so the nuts won't roll off of the
Yep.
board.
Yep. I probably need to put something else here, and I think I've got a solution.
And
Look at that.
beautiful.
Voila.
Now you've got a barrier for all of the fruit and nuts, and they're not going to roll off.
Right.
I think that was a perfect solution.
And here comes my favorite part, just about. What do you think that is?
That looks like molasses or sorghum, or
It's honey.
it's honey. Okay.
It is honey. And I'm a bit of a Pooh Bear. I love honey. Look how rich and dark. I mean, it sticks. This is so rich and dark. It sticks to everything. Everything's gonna be sticky. And
That is much
a
different
beautiful
than what we're used to buying from
Yep.
the bear at the
Yeah.
Walmart.
So this is from a partner in crime here, has a good friend in Fredonia, Kentucky, who makes this honey. That is darker than cola.
It looks like molasses.
And it does. And that's what everybody thinks it is until they taste it. Like, holy cow, that's honey. And that just adds a little bit more of a sweet to all the salty that you have on this board, in addition to the fruit. 2 tablespoons is enough, I think. Yeah, I think this is actually what my favorite part is.
So we have a variety of,
A little honey dipper.
that's awesome. So we have a variety of flavors as well.
Yeah.
So we've got some sweet with the honey and fruit, some salty with the nuts and the cured meats and the cheeses. And then we have, is that gonna add a little spice?
It is. Well, I'm out of Sarah's mustard. I usually use Sarah's over at the Freight House. Her mustard here. It's a good way to promote her and talk about her a little bit. So I'm out of that. We flew through it this past weekend, but a good friend of mine brought me this. It's kind of like a honey mustard. I haven't tried it yet, but he used to work in the restaurant industry. He's not too shabby of a cook himself. If he says it's good, why not? Let's add some jerkins.
Are these sweet or dill?
Dill. Pickles are a lot of fun to play around with because you can do sweet and spicy, you can do butters, you can do chips. It's a pickle. There's so many different options out there. It's a lot of times, just kind of fun to play with what else we have. A lot of times we'll substitute, say, either the honey or the olives for something like an apricot jam. Nothing overly sweet from that side of things, or a fig jam. You know, those go really well with the meats. But then again, you know, sometimes we just kind of go back to the honeys, the pickles, and the grapes. These are just house crackers from Kirchhoff's, come in nice little squares. Then we break them up. And this is the beautiful part because none of them are going to be the same shape or size. They're going to crumble. You just kind of add it up, build it up. Do one cracker per person, one square. See, we can just kind of, it could become part of the landscape as well. You know, I like a good charcuterie board. I mean, I first noticed that no one did these in Paducah. I used to travel extensively for my job in healthcare as a consultant. And I covered the Midwest, and you know, sometimes I'd travel, get in late to the hotel at 9 o'clock, and you go down to the restaurant, there's not really, nothing sounds good. Meat and cheese always sounds good.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I kind of survived off of these for a couple of years, and I started just thinking, coming back here, like, why does no one do these, right? And here we are. A little olive oil, a little garlic olive oil. There's a reason why I'm kind of covering these a little bit. One, it's garlic olive oil. I love garlic.
Who doesn't?
Right. Just a dash of little salt and pepper mixture here. Don't want to go too far on this. You've already got a ton of salt, ton of other flavors over here. And then I've found there's probably maybe a better option out there that I'm not aware of, that parsley, here this is. You can add some beauty. I always do it from high up. You don't want a direct hit, right?
Right.
Let it rain.
Spread out that.
Let it rain, let it get on other stuff. It's okay. At least to me it is. It's just parsley. I don't even know if it has a flavor.
Spread the love.
Yep. Get some into there. They feel neglected. Now I am starting to sound like Bob Ross. This is my canvas after all. It's like I said. You know, the funny thing is, not to like just talk about treating this as a canvas, but I've always, even when I would dabble in pastels, I noticed that I'd always kind of put my eyes out of focus and just kind of create the space and fill the space and everything. And it's kind of the same way that I do that here.
Well, this is amazing. Just local and seasonal things. So every time when you come at different times of the year, then it's different.
Is there room for pepperoni?
There's always room for pepperoni. That was a silly question. This is high class right here. So I'm so excited that we were able to learn from the only restaurant in town that makes these, and that it turned out this beautiful. I think it's going to give the students some wonderful inspiration for their boards when they put these together.
And the parting piece of advice that I would just stress this: don't be perfect. Don't be perfect. Don't try to be. I mean, it's all in how you perceive things, I guess. But you know, if you, I mean, you watched us do this, right? You watched me do it. It all started with all this fruit underneath, right? And then we just built up and around, and they look different every single time.
Let's give it a spin there.
Yeah.
A little spin.
A little spin. And this is the great thing about coming in here with four people. They see something on their side, they don't have to reach across the table. It's like, hey, let's do that. Close to Clarksville, or between Hopkinsville and Clarksville, a company called Boot Hill Kitchen, and her name is, they're the Thatchers. She makes the boards and the wood, including these honey dippers and everything, and then he makes knives. Wonderful craftsmanship, and I like to support folks, you know, as much as I possibly can. Again, plug in Mr. Kimball here. He's done coffee mugs back there for me. He's done all sorts of things. And if I had my druthers, everything that I own dish-wise would probably come from it. But it's just beautiful craft, and it adds further depth other than just a, you know, plain white ramekin.
It's beautiful, but yet rustic and simple at the very same time. And like you said, supporting the local flavor and local artists, and I just could not be happier with how this this little interview has turned out, because this is great.
And this is the mustard seed salami imported from Canada.
Seed salami.
And I'm very interested in this mustard.
Would you say that the provolone or the sharp cheddar is going to go best, because we've got a strong flavor here, I'm assuming, with the mustard?
I'll go provolone.
Okay.
If you're going to throw the mustard on there, go provolone.
Okay.
Dying to know how good this mustard is, because it smelled good. I just hadn't.
You said this was a honey mustard?
I think so. He brought it in right in the middle of a rush, and I think that's what he told me. You tell me. It's okay, we sweet. Don't worry about it. Is it honey, or is it just a
I can't taste
spicy
the honey.
brown?
It's spicy brown.
Okay, okay.
It's good. It is really good.
That's nice to hear. We can always add a little honey to it.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna add a little honey. There we go.
Yeah.
That was a good bite.
Good bite?
That was a good bite.
A lot of different texture there, right?
You got the spicy brown, that meat is amazing.
That meat is really amazing. I agree.
The cheese, I can taste the parsley and garlic on the crackers, and then that little bit of honey for the sweet.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Now
right
my
there.
stomach's growling.
Good stuff.
All right, I'm gonna have to follow my recommendations here.
Okay.
A little bit of mustard on top. And yes, I just swirled around.
Yeah, I was being
That
way
is
too
tough.
gentle with the honey there.
And the next part just is just patience. It'll eventually,
There you go.
Gravity always wins. Okay. You know, I always get sad when, you know, I get these boards back and there's honey left. People not like honey? They didn't even touch the honey. Do they not know how good honey is?
It's a good bite, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's good. Well, this has given me some good ideas, and I hope it gives our students some great ideas too. So I'll take some pictures and let you know how it goes as well. So
Please do.
Well, thank you for this, and thank you for sharing your time and expertise with us. And I'll definitely be keeping in touch and let you see what our students create from this.
Good luck.
Thank
Good luck, team, or
Thank
or
you.
guys and gals.